Yes, I'm happy knowing that you're having my baby. You're the woman I love, and I love what it's doing to
She's having my baby. You know what? Maybe I should switch it to the Justin Bieber song. That song is like horrible. She's having a baby. She's having her baby. I am having my baby in 2 weeks. I can't believe it. C-section, June 6th at 2:30 Clovis Community. I just got back from my OB's office, and my regular OB is actually in Europe right now. So his partner just talked to me and said, to tell you the truth, everybody wants to be born at Clovis Community right now because they have a new wing and you get your own room. So it's crazy.
Everyone gets their own room?
Everyone gets their own room. There's a new wing now, and everyone gets their own room, especially C-section. I don't know about normal natural birth. I'm assuming everybody does. So everyone wants to be born at Clovis.
Did you have Rocco?
I had Rocco at Clovis. Yeah. Now, my story was crazy with Rocco. The radio station let me go when I was 8 months pregnant. It was very stressful. I was on Medi-Cal because I had no health insurance. And I wanted to, matter of fact, because we're going to talk to Jen about StemSite right now, I wanted to bank my baby's cord blood. But at the time, I had no insurance, no money. Now I actually have a stable job with insurance and stuff. So let me introduce our next guest, Jen Kattleman with StemSite. Woo! Okay, so for those of you moms watching, or anyone really, if you're having a kid or grandkid, you could tell your daughter or son about this. Tell us about StemSite. What is it?
Yeah, StemSite. So have you heard of that before?
Not until you, girlfriend.
Yeah, so
I'm actually doing it, so I'll tell you my story later.
Yeah, so
too.
I'll probably ask you some questions about your experience. But
this
StemSite is actually a cord blood therapeutics company, and it actually offers families an option to either donate their baby's cord blood after delivery to a public bank if they wanted to for someone that's in need of a transplant. So that's option one.
Did not know that.
And they are affiliated with public banks. And then there's also the option to privately bank their baby's cord blood, like you are going to.
That's what I'm going to.
And really the difference is that you would be using it for your own exclusive rights for the family. If you, God forbid, you should ever have to use it, but use it in the future.
If the baby got sick, or there's so many diseases out there, leukemia, for instance.
Yeah,
so
as a matter of
fact.
Use. Yeah, and I was going to say that StemSite also is a global company. So we have presence in China as well as India. And in the U.S.,
is awesome.
Yeah, actually there's 3 in-house processing facilities, one of them being here in California. And then we have also Taiwan as well as India as well. And then we have local representation across the country that gives cord blood education. We also partner up with the doctors, like your OB, to give all the information that's necessary to pass along to expecting parents. So.
And he knows. It's funny because he has posters all over the place about cord blood, which the posters are kind of old. I don't know.
Back in the 80s or 90s.
I know.
I
saw it. I'm like, what are you? And well. The guy, okay, so I'm a pharmaceutical rep and I talk to doctors all day, and one of my doctors, like 10, I think his daughter is 10 or 11, they decided to do this. The OB has never done it. My OB's done it many times. But let's get back on track. Tell us what is cord blood and why should I do that? Why should a mother do this?
I think that is like a really key question, and that's one that comes up constantly.
People don't understand what it's all about.
No, they don't even know really what the definition of cord blood. They might have heard it somewhere through marketing with different companies. They might have seen brochures in the OB offices, but they don't really know what the process is like or even why to bank to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So cord blood is actually the leftover blood that's inside the umbilical cord after the baby is born, and I think that's one to really emphasize. Is that
after they cut it,
after they cut the cord, there's leftover cord blood there, and within that cord blood contains millions of stem cells. And today, actually, those stem cells are being used for, 80 diseases now.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier, a lot of them are, diseases like, or cancers like leukemia, lymphoma, blood disorders like sickle cell disease. So, going back to your question as far as why would I bank or why would expecting moms bank, well, you actually have a one chance opportunity to really save something that's really valuable and resourceful if you needed to have to use it, God forbid, if something develops over time.
Right.
That, now you can cryopreserve it and use it for the future.
But what about, I mean, being a pharmaceutical rep, I'm all into clinical trials and talking to doctors about clinical trials. Now there's clinicaltrials.gov, and there's current studies looking at cord blood stem cells and other potential uses in the future. Right. Is this, I don't know if we're repeating ourselves, but what are the other diseases that we're looking at?
Yeah,
what you just said, leukemia.
So we have, to date, for the cord blood stem cells, it's indicated to treat 80 diseases. And what they're looking at now is to expand new uses for those stem cells. Very, very common and more familiar to us, like diabetes, heart disease, autism, spinal cord injuries. A lot of these are more quality of life diseases that could really impact a patient's life.
Spinal cord, you just never know having boys.
Exactly.
What
so there's actually hundreds online. If you take a look online, there are actually hundreds that are currently being looked at to see whether or not these treatments can come to fruition. And if they do, the cord blood stem cells will obviously increase exponentially. But
I know this cord blood is mainly used for the baby, but God forbid if something happens to a parent or Rocco.
Right.
The sibling. What are the matches? What are the chances?
Yeah, so
they could use that?
Getting back to the baby is a perfect match for their own cord blood, obviously, right?
So that's the main purpose for the baby.
It could be the main purpose. Obviously, there's a perfect match there.
Yes,
what's interesting, and you've heard of bone marrow stem cells or bone marrow transplants before.
Yes.
There are really some strict tissue matches when it comes to bone marrow stem cells. But with cord blood stem cells, there doesn't need to be as much of a perfect match, so to speak. So there is potential for a parent to use at least a half match for a parent.
Yeah.
And then for a sibling, you have at least a 25% chance of being a perfect match, which obviously has a lot of great potential. And so a sibling is a really good source to be a high-quality match at some point should you ever have to use it.
See, that's really cool.
So, I think a lot of people really do feel, or there's this perception that, it's just the baby is a perfect match, but not necessarily. You don't have to be a perfect match to use the cord blood stem cells.
So maybe if it does match for the sibling of the parent. Okay, I was afraid to bring my kit because I'm getting my C-section in 2 weeks, and I'm like, well, I don't want to open it. What if I do something wrong? But I'm glad you brought this.
Yes, this is just the demo kit, right?
Walk us through the kit. Should I not open it till...
You don't have to
2 weeks,
open
June 6th at 2:30. I'm afraid I'm going to ruin something.
Well, let me walk you through the process.
Yeah.
Say going through the enrollment process, you go through this in easy enrollment initially.
Yes.
So
and
it's
by the way,
all the information.
I went through it. I called their customer service supervisor. I think they emailed me paperwork. I faxed stuff over, and next thing I know, I'm all signed up, and I got this 2 days later.
So they actually ship the kit over to you.
Yes,
and the kit really,
in no time. Boom, boom, boom.
Exactly. What the kit really contains is all of the items that are necessary for a successful collection. So who does the collection? You mentioned before that your OB has done it several times.
Oh, he's done it
They're
a lot.
all trained. Staff is all trained for that.
Yes.
So whoever your healthcare provider is delivering the baby would need this kit because it contains everything that's necessary to obviously do it in a very sterile kind of way, as well as being able to make sure that they're collecting it appropriately. Because you want to protect the viability of those stem cells.
Well, and you want to make sure that, I don't know, they're doing everything right. So what happens after so I'm getting a C-section.
Getting a C-section.
Yeah.
Baby's born. Do you know the name of the baby by any chance?
No. Each time my husband and I come up with a name, he says, let me sleep on it, and then he goes into work really early, 5 or 6 in the morning. I'll call him and say, honey, can I post it on Facebook? Can I start telling the family about the name? He goes, let's just say we came up with the name Giovanni.
Okay.
I'm not feeling it now. I think what my husband is doing is calling his brothers, asking their opinion, and they're telling him, and he's switching. Don't even get me started.
So it's a big ordeal.
Let's call him Baby Boy Pavone.
Okay, so you just had Baby Boy Pavone, right? let's just place it there.
How's that for an answer?
Well, that's actually pretty grandiose. But anyway, so the baby's born.
Yes.
Right?
And then the
cord gets cut.
Right.
Baby is placed with either you on your chest or if you have a C-section in the warmer.
I can't wait to see him.
I know, it's going to be so exciting. So this is really during the time when the baby is placed with you, the umbilical cord is cut.
Yeah.
Whatever is left over, your OB will obviously clean it first with a disinfectant that's actually included in here.
Oh, that's included in there?
So you want to make sure that the umbilical cord is completely clean so that you can have a successful collection. What they do is they draw out.
Sounds so crazy. This cord is laying there.
The cord's laying there, but what's inside is really the most valuable resource, right? So what he'll do is draw the cord blood from the umbilical cord.
Yeah.
It flows through a tube and into a collection bag, and that's what's really included in here. And then at that time, we really want to make sure, and I'm going to tell you this, is that you have to plan either with Frank or grandparent or someone from a family member. You just had a baby. You're not going to be thinking, oh, wait a minute, I've got to call the courier service to come pick up the collection.
Yes, that would not be the first thing on my mind.
Yeah, not the first thing. So what we do is have a plan.
I don't know.
Right.
Okay.
So have a plan in place. You know, now that you have your kid, is say, hey, Frank,
yes.
As soon as I have the baby C-section, what we do is we say, okay, we've got to call the courier service so that we could ship it over straight to the lab.
Okay.
And that's really a very important step, obviously. And
do
and
that
you'll be surprised by some people. I would plan it now and say, Frank, you're the designated person to call the courier service once the collection is done.
Okay.
And you want to be able to tell your healthcare provider that, who's going to be responsible for that. And,
I think it might be Jen. She's one of
my best friends. It might just be me.
I think Jen's going to call the
Frank
courier.
Frank might call me and I'll call the courier service. How about that?
Yes, sounds good, girl.
It's a whole plan. But anyway, but it's that easy. And the collection process really, it takes about 2 to 5 minutes just to collect all the cord blood. The more that you collect, the more stem cells you'll be able to save. And the OB, the providers really know what they're doing in terms of that. So
why should they pick StemSite over the other companies? Because sometimes at OBs or public baby showers, you see the other companies. Why your company?
And that's it. There's quite a bit. If you take a look online, there's quite a bit of companies that are a part of cord blood banking.
Yes.
A few things that we always like to tell expecting moms to really look at, or expecting parents when they're choosing, is number one, do they have transplant experience? StemSite actually has the most transplant experience with cord blood stem cells. Gosh, it's supplied over 1,900 already so far worldwide to over 300 transplant centers.
Yeah.
And so when you want to think about storing your cord blood, I think oftentimes we fall short of thinking about, well, what about transplants in the future if you need to use it, God forbid? And so the number one thing is, do they have experience with cord blood transplants? Okay, so that's number one. The number two thing is the company highly accredited? And with StemSite, I mentioned to you earlier, we're a part of public bank as well as private banks. And the public banks have quite a bit of a high standard when it comes to accreditation. So the private banks actually operate in the same way with the same accreditations as our public bank does.
Wow,
Why that is important, and it's with agencies like the American Association of Blood Banking, AABB. Also, one that's unique that not very many companies have accreditation for is FACT, which is the Foundation for Accreditation of Cellular Therapy. Give you an example of that, right? So we look at our kids here. One example of FACT accreditation, I know she's cute. One example of that is the temperature-controlled kit.
Okay.
Not very many companies, and that's something that you want to inspect, whether or not it's temperature-controlled. Why that's important? You want to protect as much of the viability of the cord blood unit as much as possible, from delivery room through transport, and then eventually to the in-processing facilities.
Yeah, because you think about temperatures and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, and you're thinking about shipping in different other areas. You don't want it getting stuck somewhere in a tarmac at 100 degrees. Especially here in Fresno, it's just 110%, 110 degrees. So it's one of those things that you definitely want to make sure that it's temperature controlled. And that again goes back to the high accreditations with FACT, that the company obviously has. So
it's got some good points to use StemSite.
Exactly. Those two agencies specifically set high standards from recommendations of experts that are in hematology, oncology, transplant medicine. So these are really experts that are setting the high bar that all the companies really should adhere to. And that's what StemSite has. So accreditation, highly accredited.
It sounds
transplant
like
experience. Yeah.
How much does it cost? We got to go in a minute, Jen.
Yes.
Tell us website, phone number, and how much.
So for going really
costs.
into details, because it really depends on what you want to save to begin with. I will actually mention to you that we should emphasize is the annual storage fee, right? So there's initial fee up front that includes the kit, the processing, the courier services, shipping, as well as the first year of the storage for free upon that initial fee. And then once your baby turns 1, then the annual fee set in. And for cord blood, it's $125. Right now,
$125 a year.
$125 a year.
After
a year
you
is
pay
really
your
important.
Fee. You
initial
pay a fee, then it's $125. Okay.
$125 a year, and then the parents can set the terms on how much they want to, how long they want to save the baby's cord blood bank or cord blood, and then there's flexibility in terms of the payments as well. So we always try to accommodate with the parents as much as possible and make it affordable for them to use, because like I said, it's really a resource that you want to try to keep as much as possible. So so visit the website if you want more information on the pricing at www.stemsite.com, and obviously we'll leave my information up there as well. Or you can call Athena, because she has
could call me.
Personal experience at this point. But,
and there's a phone number too. The customer service center is awesome. And by the way, after I paid my fee and all that stuff, you could say, for instance, this is my second boy, so I have a lot of stuff. I asked my family, you could do a virtual baby shower. I asked my family to donate. I got my first donation like that. So you can pay for it. You can have your family members pay for it. It's a good thing and may save a baby's life. STEMsite.com. Is there anything that we're forgetting?
No, that was a great catch, by the way. And I don't think very many people know about that. So the virtual baby is really helpful.
And I got my first donation. So you know what? It's half paid for next year. Coming up next, maybe Jessica will bank her cord blood. I don't know. But she
Come on over, Jessica.
She owns Cabell Kids in downtown Clovis, a very cute boutique and website. My new friend, who I met getting a pedicure and manicure. It's the funniest story. Coming up next.
That's Fresno, though. Right?
On CentralValleyTalk.com. Use STEM Sense.